moment. Remember back in 1954 when Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile? People thought it couldn't be done. I'm over at douglashamp.com. You can check out this devotion over there. But Roger Bannister in 1954, he ran the 4-minute mile. It was an amazing feat. Nobody thought it could be done. He was an Englishman, and he was the first to cross the barrier of running the mile in 4 minutes. Up until that point, experts thought it was impossible to do. But once Bannister achieved the feat, many others have done so as well. In other words, Bannister was the first to fulfill it, which paved the way for others to follow the example. So, too, God told Israel to put his Torah, his instructions for life, on their hearts, according to Deuteronomy 6:6, Deuteronomy 10:12 through 13, and Deuteronomy 11:18. Unfortunately, they did not fulfill what God said to do. Then Yeshua comes along and he shows us how to do it, very much like Roger Bannister. Unfortunately, many have gotten the wrong idea that because he did it, now I don't have to. That is really erroneous thinking. Just because Bannister ran the mile doesn't mean that others don't have to, in order to continue that analogy. And since we are all participating in the game of life, then we are naturally in the race. Yeshua's fulfilling of the Torah doesn't mean that I'm now exempt from doing so. In other words, Jesus did everything right. Does that mean that I don't have to? Well, not for salvation. We're not talking about, getting to heaven or what all and that stuff. We're talking about living here, right now. Jesus lived a righteous life. What should I do? I should live a righteous life too. How do I do that? I follow his example. He was the first one to live it all perfectly. So now I have a model to follow. Now I have a role model. Say, that's how he did it. I'm going to try to be just like him. I might trip and fall along the way. That's okay. I'll just get back up. So you see, Bannister showed people how to run the 4-minute mile. And once he did that, he inspired people around the world to do the same thing. Well, people have been saying that we don't have to keep the Old Testament Torah, that is the commandments that are in the Old Testament books, the Hebrew Bible properly called. We don't have to do those anymore because Yeshua did it for us. And they're basing this on his words, do not think that I came to destroy the law of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Here's the Greek word plereo. And this is from Matthew 5:17. So the idea that they think is that Jesus did all that was required in the law, and through his death he has freed us from the burden of the law. But this thinking is faulty for several reasons. Yehovah, the lawgiver, said that if a man does them, he will live through them. Leviticus 18:5. Yehovah gave them for our good. Deuteronomy 10:13. 3. Yehovah gave the Torah and already put it very near you in your mouth and in your heart that you may do it. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. Deuteronomy 30:14 through 15. And then number 4, that the notion that the Old Testament commandments, the Hebrew Bible, Torah, were a burden is just not true. As we read in 1 John, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome, right? So what are the commandments of God? It's the ones that he gave back at Mount Sinai. It's the same God that gave his instructions for life back there to the Jewish people, to the Israelites, to the Hebrews, as much as to us today. There isn't a distinction between these two. The word fulfill is the key word in the passage. It is also used in Galatians 6:2, where Paul uses the same word to tell us that when we bear one another's burdens, we fulfill, again, there's that Greek word, pleroo, the law of Christ, Galatians 6:2. So we see that bearing one another's burdens, which is an ongoing action, is the means by which we are following Yeshua's example. This proves that Yeshua's action of fulfilling the law does not mean that keeping the Torah has been set aside. It means, therefore, that he What he did, he crossed the barrier which no one had ever done, in living in complete harmony with the heart of the Father as revealed in the Torah. So we are told to follow Yeshua's example. He who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked, 1 John 2:6. And of course, we're to make disciples, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded, Jesus told us, Matthew 28:20. We too have the opportunity to fulfill the law and to be in harmony with the heart of the Father. In fact, we are expected to walk just as he walked. Yeshua did not do the Torah so we don't have to, as is taught by many churches today. Rather, just like Bannister, who fulfilled the 4-minute mile, Yeshua crossed the here's how you live out the Torah barrier for us, showing us how to do it as well. If we fall on the racetrack of life, we just need to get back up and keep running until we fulfill it too. For though a righteous man falls 7 times, he will rise again. Proverbs 24:16. It really is that simple. We're not running this race in order to be saved. We've already received God's grace. And now we want to follow Yeshua. We want to follow his example. Do what he said to do. Do it in the manner that he did it. And then we'll have great success. God bless you guys. Stay in the Word.